So today I want to talk about what's new in Leostream 9.0.38, which is the most recent update we put out for the Leostream 9 platform. Just to kind of get you grounded, do keep in mind that what Leostream provides is the remote access pieces for a full hosted desktop stack. So what we have is the Leostream gateway, the Leostream connection broker, and then the kind of end pieces, the Leostream agent that runs on the hosted desktop and the client where the user sits down. From a high level, how all those pieces look in an architecture diagram is what you see here. The broker is what I'll be showing you when I do a demo to kind of point out the new features in Leostream 9. It communicates with the Leostream agent on the remote desktops. The Leostream agents, there's new versions for that component in this release as well, both for the Windows operating system and the Java version of our Leostream agent, which installs on Linux and Mac. And we actually have done a lot of work to add support for Mac in this release. The gateway is the remote access piece. It's what actually helps the user access the broker and their desktops when the user is remote. The gateway actually has not gone through an update in this release, so if you have the Leostream gateway already installed, you can just keep using the one you have, and it'll work just great with all the new features that we're going to talk about in the broker. The final piece is where the user sits, as I mentioned. It's the client device. Again, Leostream supports web clients, PC over IP clients, number of thin clients, and then we provide our own Leostream Connect software client, which you'll see in the demo as well. That has a Windows version and the Java version, which installs on Linux and Mac. That component has gone through an update to support the new functionality in Leostream 9 as well. So if you want to take advantage of the things that you see in this demo, you'll want to update your clients and your agents and your broker. So what is new in Leostream 9? Well, it's funny because I say almost everything is about the Leostream gateway, but it's really the changes we made in the other components to support new functionality through the gateway. The gateway is the remote access tunnel, and what we've done is we have added the capability in the broker to tell the gateway, well, now what it should do is tunnel the NoMachine traffic. So NoMachine is a high-performance display protocol provided by a company whose name is also NoMachine, kind of like Leostream provides Leostream. NoMachine is great. It's getting a lot of uptake now because it supports remote desktop connections to Windows and Linux, but also to Mac OS. So if you do have Macs and you need to connect users remotely to those, NoMachine is one of the few protocols out there that actually supports that. The other protocol that we've added support for in Leostream 9 is nice DCV. Now, the nice thing about nice DCV is it's actually bundled into AWS. So if you have certain AWS instances, you can actually install DCV. Some of them come with it pre-installed, and the license for DCV comes kind of included in the compute that you're paying for in AWS. DCV, again, another high-performance display protocol. So this is a great option for using with the GPU-enabled instances in AWS. So you can host media and entertainment, maybe Avid applications or things like that up in AWS. You can use DCV on-prem as well. So in that case, you do need to get the license, and in Amazon, AWS can help you out with that. DCV, it has two different ways that it can be connected. The NoMachine is what we call a client-based protocol. So we're going to download a client to actually establish that NoMachine connection. DCV has the client-based option, but it also has an in-browser HTML5 based option as well. So this is great if you just want to have an in-browser connection that's really snappy. You can use DCV for that. And I just point out in the bottom bullet there, we actually already in 9.0.36 had support for the PC over IP connections to remote workstation cards through the gateway. But really, with those three, DCV, PC over IP, and NoMachine together, you can have a really highly performant desktop connection using Leostream to just about anything. So rather than talking about it, let's show it. All right, so this is the Leostream connection broker, which you are likely familiar with. If I log in as the administrator, most of what is in this has not changed between the last release and the release that we just put out. You'll still come into the broker and you'll start in the setup section and kind of work your way down, integrating with your authentication servers and your centers and setting up your gateways in here. The bulk of the new bits is actually in the configuration section, and particularly in protocol plans. Here is where you will enable the broker to tell the Leostream gateway that you want to use NoMachine or DCV for the connection. As an example, if I look here, I've created a protocol plan for NoMachine. You'll notice we can launch the NoMachine connection either from our Leostream Connect client, both the Windows and Java version, or we can launch NoMachine connection from a web browser. And actually in both cases, what it essentially is an NXS file, which has all of the configuration information for how that connection is going to be established. So things like, is resize on, what's default resolutions do you want to use, different things like that. And then here below there, here is where you would indicate if you're going through a gateway or not. Now, the one thing that we have noticed, keep in mind that when you're using NoMachine, this isn't an in-browser connection. So the connection does go along the port that NoMachine uses. So in this case, it's port 4000. So that is one thing to keep in mind. We have seen some cases where certain load balancers cannot be set up to forward those ports. So just some things to keep in mind when using NoMachine is you might want to put the gateway behind a firewall, but you may not be able to put it behind a load balancer if that load balancer can't handle the port 4000 traffic. One other thing, this isn't new for NoMachine, but since we're talking about it, I'll point it out. The configuration file sets the default configuration for that desktop connection. But in some cases, you might want to give the user the ability to change window managers if it's Linux or resolution, what have you. So you can actually check some boxes. And then what will happen is the user has a way to open up a separate dialog and tweak these parameters so they can customize their connection a little bit. The other protocol we added support for is the DCV. Just like with NoMachine, it supports both Leostream Connect as a login method to launch the connection or a web browser. And it's very similar. In this case, we download a DCV file and that's going to launch the DCV client. You notice you have a web browser. Here's where you also have the option to potentially launch the DCV connection in the browser. So those are the two different ways that you can do this. And then you just select the gateway you want to pass it through. Now, I will point out right now, if you have, in my case, my demo environment is up in AWS, but my DCV server has a public IP address. So I'm going to use the client-based DCV because that supports the public IP address. If I only had a private IP, so that AWS instance was locked in a virtual private cloud, didn't have a public IP address or an elastic IP, then I would need to use the HTML5 viewer and launch it in the browser so that the gateway is tunneling the traffic through to the DCV server. So essentially what that means is the client-based DCV does require network access. This is not available through the gateway just yet, but that will come in a future release. So what I'm going to show you from a user's perspective, I've created here one policy, which provides access to two different machines, one that I'm going to connect to using NoMachine and the other that I'll connect to using DCV. So that's the great thing about Leostream policies is you can mix and match the different types of machines and the different protocols that you want to use. So here I'm offering one Windows machine and I'm going to connect to NoMachine via the gateway. That same policy is going to offer me my DCV Windows machine. And in this case, I'm going to launch the client base. So this connection is not even going to go through the gateway. So I can even mix and match whether I'm using the gateway or not. And then just so you can see that policy gets assigned to my user when they log into a web browser. Just to prove that's all true, before I show you from a user's perspective, I always like to point out test login. It's a very powerful feature. And what I'm going to do is run a test for Mabel here. And if I read through the test, I can see that, yep, sure enough, she's going to get that policy when she logs in from a web browser. And then I can come down and confirm that she will in fact be offered a machine that's going to connect the way I want it to be connected. And there's my Windows machine via DCV. Now, from a user's perspective, that's the load balancer address of my broker cluster. If I log in as Mabel, if I spell her name right, you in fact see the two different machines. And so I'm going to go ahead and connect, and it's downloading, of course, on the other monitor, the NoMachine client. And so that's going to connect. Yep, that's fine. That was just talking about the certificate because it's the first time I've logged into that machine. Now while that's connecting back there, what I can see here in the logs is what's going on behind the scenes. So here's the login for Mabel, the machine she was offered. We requested a connection. Now, something that I forgot to point out in the policy, you see this item here saying initiated automatic console login. For NoMachine, NoMachine authorizes the connection. It takes the user's credentials and validates that that user has permission to connect to the machine. Here I am logged in. But it doesn't actually perform the single sign-on into the operating system. You can use our Leostream agent to do that. There's a policy setting that you'll say, please use your agent to do single sign-on, and that's why you see this automatic console login here. And it's also why now I got logged into the OS instead of sitting at the operating system login screen there. So it's a nice end-user feature. Here you see the forwarding rule getting added again on port 4000, which is the NoMachine port. So here I know that my gateway is working and is tunneling the traffic. And then you see the Leostream agent notifications coming in, so I know when users log in and when they log out. I can simultaneously connect here to this DCV machine. And now DCV is a little interesting because in the background, what we're doing for DCV is actually initiating the DCV session. So on a DCV server, you need to have a session running for that user. If you want to share a machine, you don't want to have the session running for all the users that you want to be able to use those machines. You want to start the session at the time that particular user requests it. And so our Leostream agent actually is able of launching that connection. And I have forgotten how to get out of full screen. And then once you close it, the Leostream agent will close the DCV session back down. So now if we look at the log, that's what you're going to see here. Requested the connections DCV, and then it launched the browser, and the agent sent notice that I was logging in. If I look over in the desktops, then I can actually come in here and do status and check that the user actually is logged in, and I can even forcefully log them out if I need to. And at the time you perform that action, we're going to tear the DCV session back down so that another user can't just go in and attach to that session. Again, that works both for Windows and Linux on the DCV, so that's kind of nice. And you can see there, that was my DCV session was gone. I was logged out. So really, those are the two big things in the 9038 release. It's that NoMachine support through the gateway. It's the support for managing the DCV sessions. What's coming up next? The whole idea that behind Leostream development cycle now is that we put out short, quick releases with a couple really powerful features. So the next thing that we want to add, NoMachine actually does also have an in-browser HTML5 version. So we're going to add support for that in the gateway. So now if you think about that, that means if your user just has a browser, they're going to have the ability to launch an RDP, VNC, or SSH connection via our built-in HTML5 viewer. And then we'll also be able to launch in-browser NoMachine connections and in-browser DCV. So basically, any operating system you want to connect to, any type of performance you need, you'll be able to do it in the browser. The other big thing that's coming is scheduled access to pools. And this is the classic classroom application. I have a lab of machines that I want to be available from 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. the next day. But then at 9 a.m., I want them to be used by a different group of students based on the class that they're in. That's the kind of scheduling ability that we're adding into our policies. And then a few other things that are coming down. The Pike, the Verge platform is a hyper-converged infrastructure platform. We have basic support for it now when we're adding automated provisioning in the next release. And then a couple items related to authentication. One thing we hear a lot is, can I use SAML to log in to Leostream and then launch a PC over IP connection? The answer to that right now is no, but that is something that we're working on in conjunction with Teradici, so that's very exciting. And then the final item that I'll point out is adding push notifications, specifically for Okta. We have a lot of customers who use Okta as their identity provider. We do support the one-time tokens with Okta Verify right now. We want to expand that to provide push notification support as well. And with that, if you need any more information or are interested in trying out any of that functionality, just drop us a line and we're happy to help you out. That's all I got. How do I stop the recording?